Hello, welcome to the James Cooley Show. It's your life. I'm your host, Dr. James J.C. Cooley, and I tell you what, it's Thursday. And you know, Thursday, we got Paula Shaw on hosting the show because she's going to be talking about Bridges Beyond Grief. And she got an absolutely fantastic guest coming your way today. And I tell you, I'm not going to give it away right now. But I tell you, when we lock all the programs, lock TV, radio, all that in, that's when we will put it out there. How you doing today, Paula? How you doing?
I'm doing great, JC. I'm always in a good place when I get to hang out with you and Michelle.
Wow, that's absolutely wonderful. What about you, Michelle? How you doing back in Texas? I'm in sunny California. How you doing?
Well, Texas is it was 60 in the 60s this morning. So that's beautiful, nice. Cool weather, but doing good.
Well, it was in the 40s here early this morning, you know, so, but I tell you what, it's still beautiful, it's still wonderful. And I'm looking forward to the show today. And, you know, I'm going to sit back and listen to most of it, watch Paula do her work. And I'm excited about this guest. How are you doing, Todd? How you doing in the studio, man?
I'm always good, especially when Paula's in the house.
Oh, thank you, Todd.
Absolutely, man. You know, and we got a football player on today. I'm not giving Michelle. Don't beat me up. I ain't gave it away.
Yeah, trouble, James. First, let's lock everybody in. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Lock them in.
It's Your Life is sponsored by James J.C. Cooley.
Dr. James J.C. Cooley.
Hello, welcome to the James Cooley Show. It's your life. I'm your host, Dr. James J.C. Cooley, and I tell you what, wherever you're watching us out in the world, well, whichever platform that you're watching us on, or if you're just listening to the radio or listen to iHeartRadio and all these other places, you know what? If you want to be part of this great conversation about the show that we got today, Paula Shaw, is Thursday. So, you know, she always bring it. She always bring a wealth of knowledge. She bring absolutely fantastic guests, and she got another one today. So if you want to be part of the conversation, whichever platform that you're watching us on, all you have to do is go to the comments. Ask any question that you might have, or pick up the phone and dial 1-888-344-1170. Again, that's 1-888-344-1170. Michelle, I am excited about this show today. And you know, just like Todd had mentioned, anytime we have Paula on, it's just fantastic. She's such a wonderful, wonderful person and doing great things. You know, in the communities, also around the world, actually, people watching the show right now, and she's helping them out. So, how you doing, Paula? How you doing today?
As I said, you know what? It's always a good day when I'm hanging with you two, and getting a chance to bring some information to people that can actually help them in their own lives. And what we're going to talk about today is an amazing technology that exists that has transformed the life of our guests. So I guess without any further ado, I should let Michelle tell everybody who he is. Yeah,
Michelle, can you please introduce the title of the show, purpose of the show, and introduce this absolutely wonderful guest?
Oh, most definitely. So the title of today's show is Reset Your Mindset. And our guest host, Paula Shaw. She's a life transitions expert, grief specialist. her and Dr. James J.C. Cooley will have a sit-down conversation with Craig McEwen. He is the former NFL Super Bowl champion and former president of the NFL Alumni Association San Diego chapter. They're going to be discussing unexpected losses coming from professional sports, devastation from being a top-performing athlete to a malfunctioning individual with a confused identity, dealing with confusion and shame and peak decline, and finding a miracle bridge that gives you a connection back to your life. So, wow, Craig McEwen, after a 6-year career in the NFL, topped off with Super Bowl championship, and as a former president of NFL Alumni Association San Diego chapter, Craig uses his platform and his passion to connect and contribute to charities and causes near and far. He's currently aligned with MindSet SD. MindSet SD is bringing cutting-edge PRTMS, personalized repetitive transcranial magnetic stimulation technologies to the marketplace. It utilizes a revolutionary approach to therapy, targeting and rejuvenating areas of the brain affected by cellular dysfunction. So without any further ado, please welcome to the show, Mr. Craig McEwen.
Yay!
How you doing, Craig?
That's the best introduction I've ever had coming out the end zone.
Well, I tell you what, man. Hey, Craig, I think we got to do better than that, man, on the introduction. And so my little device just turned off for a second or so. But when it comes back on, I want the audience around the world to give you a clap. And here we go. Oh.
Louder.
We can.
Okay. Hey, Craig, I think you're on mute. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you, James.
Yeah.
Craig, can you hear us?
We couldn't hear the howling audience.
Question. Can you please tell our viewers and our listeners a little bit more about you, where you grew up, what makes you so passionate, and why are you doing the great things that you're doing right now?
Okay, born and raised in Queens, New York City, and grew up with a hardworking dad, learned great work ethic from him. And we were always helping neighbors in the Irish community, and families always fed families. And it became instilled into me to always be unselfish and always help others. And that's about as quickly and as cleanly as I can put this, besides God's gift and his blessing inside of me, which it only took about 56 years, Doc, for me to find my calling and my purpose. It wasn't to play football, right, Paula? And Paula knows me, but through the blessings and the hard work that we're going to talk about and the ups and downs and some of the drops and sometimes penalizing myself, was able to figure out, I'm here to be of service and a teammate to others, military, men and women, boys, children, any way I can, help serve and be a part of a team. And that's a classic belonging that I've wanted ever since I was young.
That is so beautiful, Craig, and very nicely put. But I would love you to share a little bit about how did you go from this kid growing up in New York to an NFL football player, so people have an idea of what was going on in your life at that time.
Well, I grew up playing the real football, soccer, but then somebody saw me kick a soccer ball and asked me to be a punter and a kicker, and then it all just evolved from there. I didn't get a scholarship out of high school back on Long Island. We're both the New Yorkers here, and I had to go move in with my dad in California, which I think based on our game plan, we're going to touch on that because that took some work. And went to community college, and then from there, nobody wanted me, even though I was an All-American. And then 3 months later, I got a call from Utah, got a scholarship, and it was either that or go to the Army. And then the Redskins picked me up.
Wow. I mean, that's an amazing story. And it always seems like it happens that way. And I'm sure to the average person, it feels like, well, he just lucked out. But I have a feeling behind all that was a lot of hard work. You knew what you wanted to do and you focused yourself in that direction, right?
Correct. And I think it's cliche. There's a cliche out there. If you're doing something you love, it's really not work. And even though I would try to call it a job because I wanted my mom to be proud I had a job, I never had a paper route. And there's a lot of work, and but I loved it, and I love football. I feel like I am football in all its aspects of the training, the preparation, and the execution and having to work with others and be selfless, be leader, as well as being able to be led in a team. There's so many great life lessons from it.
Oh, and in conversations you and I have had, I can really validate that, so much wisdom has come to you. You've had the real life experience from which that wisdom tends to come. And you've put it to really great work, to great use. Let's talk a little bit about your job in football and what happened to your brain as a result of what you were doing in football.
Okay. Well, besides the using it for the learning the plays and doing all that, being an offensive player back in this time, it was a lot more aggressive with the hitting. There weren't as many protective rules. So you were getting a hit much more in the head. It was the head hunting. And that was kind of the warrior culture back then.
Right.
And only really in the last, since 2013, has the NFL on that level put in the Concussion Protocol Commission, and quote unquote, they're making the game safer. And Paula, I like to say this, and if they don't like it, I'll understand, and we'll sit down. But the NFL, I would tell them, well, would make the game unsafe before. And getting knocked around, people think the concussions, you got knocked out. It's really not that. It's more of the everyday practice hitting. And then there's some big hits, but it's that every day, like a carpenter gets calluses, the same thing happens to the brain. And specifically, we can get into a little bit later, is the neural pathways, the communication system of the brain gets jarred off loose, just like your phone. If you drop it too many times, your programs don't work.
Exactly. That's a great analogy. And I heard somebody once use the analogy that the skull is hard and the brain is more like Jell-O, and when you get hit, that inner soft surface is getting slammed against the hardness of the skull. Correct?
Yeah. That's what I was told by a couple of neuro physicians, as I've been to several brain and body scanning and health screenings. And I was told the inside of the skull is not smooth like the outside. It's actually somewhat like a popcorn ceiling, and the brain is more like a tofu consistency and texture, and it actually pulls on it for micro tears, almost like you'd get like a rug burn possibly. And that's so, and those are minor things, but like you said, the concussive event, maybe some people, and I don't want to downplay the audience so that they don't know, but it's a concussive shock wave every time you hit, even if it's me and you coming in and blocking. That egg is going forward and hitting it, even if you're just running and you fall down. And it's that number of times, so repetitively, that the bruise doesn't get to heal.
Yeah. And as far as I know, you're doing all of that kind of stuff in practice in addition to games, right?
Yeah, and as much as it was hard work, and I played with one of the great teams, coaches, and organizations, the Washington Redskins, back in the '80s, when we used to say, "Well, men were men," and it's not flag football. We had the Hogs, we against Dexter, we had Dexter Manley, but we played full practice, full hit, 3 days a week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then we had the games on Sunday. So it was 4 days out of the week, and it was there was no limitation on the hits, and yes. When they say, how many concussions did you get, Craig? And I would say somewhere in the thousands, maybe even more.
Oh my.
Because you think of
Craig, hold that thought. We got to take a station break.
Yes,
but we're gonna come back. We got a lot more.
Yeah, my brain needs a break anyway.
Hey, we got a lot more, Craig, coming your way. But I tell you what, whichever platform you're watching us on, you want to be part of the conversation. All you have to do is go to the comments, ask any questions that you might, or pick up the phone and dial KTBQ AM 1170 answer FM 96.1 at 1-888-344-1170. Again, that's 1-888-344-1170. It's your life. We'll be back with a lot more of Paula Shaw on Bridges Beyond Grief. And I tell you what, I'm looking forward to talk to you in a minute.
There's more stories of greatness to help you overcome adversity. Coming up on It's Your Life with James Cooley.
A black man.
For those looking to improve their lives, there's nobody better to turn to than Paula Shaw. Paula helps people regain successful lives by identifying and eliminating self-sabotaging behavior using a multitude of mind-body techniques to identify and resolve their core issues. Working with a wide variety of healing modalities, she provides her clients with the most effective process for their specific needs. To book a session with Paula, call 858-480-9234. That's 858-480-9234.
Really get a chance to know who you are. And once you know who you are, you truly know who you are, love who you are. Love who you are. You're a masterpiece. Love who you are. Love who you were born to be. Love me some me. That's what I'm talking about. When you leave high school, you gotta know today or tomorrow, or hopefully today, what your plans are. Hopefully, there is no bad decision unless there is no plan. Create, collaborate, commit with confidence. Commit with what? Commit with what? And everything that you do.
The James Cooley Show. It's your life. That's right. JC Cooley.
Hello. Welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and I tell you, Thursday we got Paula, Bridges Beyond Grief, and she got an absolutely magnificent guest. And what we're talking about today, in case you're just tuning in, we're talking about reset your mindset. Let me say that one more time. Reset your mindset. And a lot of times I think in resetting your mindset, you have to go back and really understand the situation. But I tell you what, we got Craig McEwen here. He's going to talk a little bit more about that. Also, Paula Shaw, absolutely fantastic. And so if you want to be part of the conversation, the easiest way to do it is pick up your phone, dial 1-888-344-1170. Again, that's 1-888-344-1170. Paula, I got this question.
Yes.
Well, you play with the Washington Redskins, Super Bowl champion, Doug Williams, all this. I mean, absolutely fantastic to watch you on TV many times, brother. So a great tight end, great running back. A lot of issues are been going over the last 15, 20 years in the NFL with concussions. And as you see right now, the protocols are probably a little bit more strict than what it used to be, because they really sit you down now. But back in the old days, I don't think they kept you guys out like that. I mean, they had
to drag us out.
Can you share with our audience? Can you share some experience where an unexpected loss, such as an injury setback, changed your perspective about your career?
I'll start off with the TBI one, which was in '88. I was playing and got a hand inside the helmet, hit me. I lost some of the vision in my eye, but I went down and I was out. They ruled me out for the last 4 weeks of the season. And anytime you're not playing and somebody else is in there, it was the first time after I'd won the starting position my second year that I thought I was concerned and worried, because the guy behind me was good, but you just don't want to let them have the opportunity. And so it became somewhat of an unknown that I had to go into the off season not finishing the year, and that's an uncomfortable feeling. And the last one was the biggest one, when I was in the World League trying to come back, and I injured my back. And I say injured versus hurt. And I knew it. I felt different. And when I came back to the States, I got evaluated, and they said it's not going to heal, and you got to get cut open if you want to live a pain-free life, which that didn't work either. But I knew then and there that my football career was over, because back then the technology was not as good as today, and I was afraid. I didn't know anything else. I'd lived every day of my life, and every decision and choice I made, mostly as a irresponsible adolescent, was for football. Everything was, and I didn't know what to do with my life.
And that's so interesting, Craig, because we've talked on other shows about how when you lose your community, you lose your identity, right? And you don't know anymore who you are, what you're about, or what is your purpose on the earth. And that's why so many veterans have committed suicide. They just get to a point where it's just too hard, and there doesn't seem to be any reason to go on. And one of the things about this show that we say every week is loss and grief are not just about death. So many people think that's true. You just described a huge loss when you were no longer able to be part of this football community, which was your dream, most of your life, probably all of your life up until then. So do you remember, or did you ever experience any of those feelings I just described?
Yes. Sitting in the hospital after waking up from the surgery and then trying to make a move to get out of the bed, and the pain that hit me, I'd never felt anything like it before. And it humbled me because there was nobody I feared in between the lines, face to face. And I now realize that I was not the person that I used to be physically. I didn't know how it was going to turn around mentally. The wheels started spinning. What am I even going to do for a living? Because all I knew was football, and I thought I was going to get back and play another 5 years. And I can own being responsible for not planning and having a game plan. But I'll tell you what, it was a dark place, and it got dark real fast. And it was like a boat on the midnight oceans. I didn't have a motor or a rudder or an oar. I just was sitting.
And how did that affect your relationships? Because we know that's a part of life too.
Yeah. Number one, and we spoke a little bit before the show on this, years after that, my daughter, Hannah, and, it's been a disconnect ever since. So if you're listening, honey, I own it, hon. Please forgive your father. But I wasn't proud of myself. And when she stopped coming for my visitations, I thought I have just failed at the ultimate responsibility as a man in this world, and that is to be a provider, a protector, and a teacher, and a friend to the. I'm the example of the man, and how can I be an example for her? I don't, and that's when I went into my deepest depressions.
Wow. So you did go through depression. I was about to ask you how you were mentally and emotionally, but that tells us a lot. You were dealing with depression.
Yeah. And I didn't realize it. And then I thought, okay, it was brought to me. And I thought, well, yeah, I might be depressed and bummed out, or it hurts. And because a football player, what do? We can physically go impact the result and be the cause of a result in repairing, but you can't do that. I have to accept what's there. And leading up, I think I was a personal trainer for about 6-7 years, and that was very fulfilling. And then when the relationship with my daughter went, I kind of lost my way. And then next thing you know, it was 7 years later, and she's a senior in college, and I just missed it all. And I can't get it back. But as we spoke earlier, because I didn't have the ability to use the tools that somebody like yourself would, teach, share, and arm somebody like me with and equip us.
Yes. And, I think even though you had a life built around football, as many people do, their life is very focused on their work. But I think for all of us, the most important piece of our lives are the relationships, are the people that we love. And when that's not working, it kind of doesn't matter if the rest is, right? You can't be fully into the joy of the rest of it if an important piece is missing. And I think that's what you're saying you were experiencing, huh, Craig?
Yeah. Like you said, the community, the football team, those are some of the strongest bonds, like with military men and women. And that's why we connect with them so much. it's something that you just can't find anywhere else. And you have to learn and understand and move forward from it and keep those relationships, which I didn't do. And I allowed myself to isolate. And I think you would tell me, like, as a coach, time out, kid, time out, right? And I think because my good friend Junior Seau, and God bless him, his spirit lives on in me, and I talk about him like I do my mom, rest in peace, because I want to keep the strength of him alive. But can you imagine a man that strong and had the world in his hand, couldn't find enough light to not walk back to us? And so I really respect some people who are who have all the challenges. And I still cry when I see Aflac insurance commercials. That's because I get impacted, because it reminds me of family. And at the end of your life, I heard a commencement speaker say, I don't care who you are, when you're laying in that bed on your deathbed, and he was a pastor, he says, they don't want the trophies. They don't want the Grammy records. Right. They want the ones they love and the relationships, because that's it. And if you don't have anybody to share it with, well, it's like being alone in a world full of people. What does it matter?
It's so true. It's so true. Yeah. And I think part of what's powerful about your story, Craig, is, and by the way, I think we should mention you also played for the Chargers. So that's where you knew Junior, correct?
That's correct. I played for two teams, a quick trivia, that don't exist anymore: the Washington Redskins and the San Diego Chargers.
Yeah, they'll always be the San Diego Chargers in my heart.
All right.
They just moved, but they didn't lose their San Diego heart.
Yep.
Anyway, what I was going to say was, when you're in that place, and no matter whether you had a Super Bowl ring or whatever, when you're not able to feel the anchor, feel the connection to who you love and what you love, it's pretty hard to find a reason to get out of bed in the morning, isn't it?
Yeah, and I didn't. If not for a couple of years, because like you say, when you don't have that ability to stay connected to that community, people understand you. It's like you hear military men and women. When I come back, I can't relate and talk to people.
That's right.
And I'm trying to find something to do. That's where the personal training kind of helped in. There was a physical aspect to it, but I didn't realize I was still struggling, and there was a deeper depression behind. Okay, I'm doing this workout, and I'm fading away and from being connected to my alumni group. I see JC back. So last time I overspoke into the commercial break. I don't want to do it this time.
No, that was my fault right there, because I probably should have taken everybody down. But we're gonna take a station break. But I tell you, just listening to you, Craig, and wow, I commend you, bro.
Thank you, brother.
I commend you, and I pray that your daughter, I hope she called in if she's listening. Just hope she called in and said, "Hi, I love you, Dad."
That would be it. That would be it for sure.
Oh yeah, but we got to take a station break. But I tell you, we're gonna come back. We got a lot more. Craig got a lot more. Bridges Beyond Grief with our host today, Paula Shaw. And I tell you, come on, be part of this conversation. All you have to do is go to the platform that you're watching us on. Ask any questions that you might have in the comments. I promise you will get you an answer, or pick up the phone and dial 1-888-344-1178. It's your life, and we'll see you shortly after the break.
There's more stories of greatness to help you overcome adversity coming up on It's Your Life with James Cooley.
Craving a slice of Chicago right here in Temecula wine country? Then dive into legendary Chicago deep dish style pizza at Rosati's Pizza Pub. Piled high with gooey cheese, rich tomato sauce, and your favorite toppings, Rosati's delivers the taste of the Windy City right to your table or front door. Enjoy the cozy pub atmosphere and an impressive selection of Temecula wines. Come on down to Rosati's Pizza Pub for your slice of Chicago right here on Rancho California Road, or order online at myrosatis.com. Rosati's, where Chicago deep dish pizza meets Temecula charm.
Country boy, city boy.
For those looking to improve their lives, there's nobody better to turn to than Paula Shaw. Paula helps people regain successful lives by identifying and eliminating self-sabotaging behavior using a multitude of mind-body techniques to identify and resolve their core issues. Working with a wide variety of healing modalities, she provides her clients with the most effective process for their specific needs. To book a session with Paula, call 858-480-9234. That's 858-480-9234.
That you'll be able to take part in one or more of
Hello, I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley from the United States of America, and I am here to just say, first of all, I'm so happy and honored to be in the Coffee Book 2023, Unified Brain Z and the other organizations. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to be a part of this collection. Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and I tell you what, I'm sitting back here. I am learning a whole lot about this guy I used to watch on television every week in the NFL, and it's an absolute pleasure getting an opportunity to meet him, have him on your show, and for him sharing his story about his experiences in the NFL and his experience and why he left the NFL. A lot of people don't want to talk about those things, and they keep those things inside. Mm-hmm. And if you keep them inside, it just eats you and eats you. But I believe if you're able to share the good and the bad, you might be helping somebody out there, maybe a football player or whatever, that don't know when to give it up when they had a head concussion too many times. And I want to just commend you, Craig, on sharing this, and we got a lot more in the next two segments. I know, but I want to get Todd point of view real quickly. How you doing, Todd?
Great show. You know, I was a third generation Charger fan. My dad and grandpa used to watch games back when they played in the AFL at Balboa Stadiums, and I got the pleasure of watching Craig 3 years there at Jack Murphy. And it's just too bad that he missed Stan Humphries, because Stan Humphries, I think, started the season after he left the Chargers. He would have probably doubled your statistics. But great interview here, Craig, and it was a pleasure seeing you out on the field and cheering for you when you were with the San Diego Chargers. But great show.
Great show.
I appreciate you, because we appreciate fans, because an empty stadium is practice. So
well put, Craig. Well put.
Yeah. I got one question before I turn back to you, Paul. You know, so Craig, I know that there was a lot of challenging situations. Probably had to really sit back and think, because I heard you mention that football was your life and everything was just tied into that. You know, so my question to you, what were some of the most challenging moments for you as you adjusted to the life after football, particularly in the terms of feeling disconnected from your former self?
Okay. Laying in the hospital bed that was delivered to my house after the 2 back surgeries in 91 and 95, and then 1 in 97. And I knew not only was I done as a football player, and that identity and that world that I had created in that life was over. At least that's the story I told myself. And it probably set myself up for the drama that I created or the disconnect. And it was, how am I going to get back into even coaching? I can barely walk, and I'm crippled. And I started to develop anger and isolation at the NFL. They're not taking care of me. I want to coach, and then I'm not getting any opportunities. I'm willing to do that. I did high schools in San Diego to try and rekindle that identity, because when I am true to that spirit of the warrior spirit, and it's selflessness, it's the courage to continue on and always finding a way to get it done, right? Failure's not an option. My Navy SEAL buddy tells me, and he says the only easy day was yesterday. So Whitey, I completely botched that, but thank you. I didn't have the tools after years and years of the traumatic brain injuries, the head impacts, the concussive shock waves, that I wasn't able to use the tools I had, like through Landmark Education. Andre, a story I'm telling myself. Well, I can just change the story. Or a procrastination. Well, when your brain is slowed down, as I've learned from MindSet, and as we'll get into that, they've taught me here about, well, it's just a physical thing. Your mental health. Well, gosh, if I want to play guitar, I've got to take care of all of the guitar and tune it, and then playing it is like your apps or your software, your Microsoft Office. But the operating system, I understand now that if that's not in order, just like with a car, it needs a tune-up.
Yeah.
And then your ability to make decisions, searching for words, wanting to get into broadcasting. I found myself, I can speak and I can talk, but when I'm struggling, I'm having brownouts where I'm losing my train of thought completely. And I'm like, hi, Paula, how'd I get on the TV with you here? But that was probably one of the most challenging, was trying to define myself into a new way to be in life, and a lifestyle where I had a value and an asset, beyond my own shortcomings of not being able to see it, sabotaging myself. And of course, the greatest story I ever told was, I'm not good enough and I'm not worthy, and I'll prove it to you. And I wasted a lot of time. So if you're out there struggling with that, I appreciate you and I respect you, but change the story, turn the page.
Yes. Yeah. And you know what, Craig, I'm so glad you're talking about this, because we call this show Bridges Beyond Grief, because we try to educate people about the different bridges that exist out there that can get you to the other side of the pain, of the agony, of the sadness, the depression, the anxiety that so often people have. And I know that PRTMS, which you're going to tell everybody what that stands for, has been this huge bridge for you. And I would love it if you would share that story and share a bit about it with our listeners.
Well, like Doc JC said, my fraternal football brotherhood family, Wes Chandler, great San Diego Charger, along with another great friend, Evan Rapostafis, they both invited me down to Serene Health, that oversees and manages the PRTMS MindSet clinic. And I didn't know what it was about. And they introduced me to the CEO, and he said to me, he's a beautiful man, Oscar Medina. And he just said, look, your friends say that, you should let us help you. And I came out of my house that I had stapled the curtains shut on. And I said, okay, I'll give it up, and I'm going to let somebody help me. And I started this journey with just showing up and allowing myself to be helped. And what they told me at first was, you're going to learn about your brain. And this mental health thing that you've tried before, but it doesn't work. I'm not connecting with the therapist and getting value out of it. Let's get your motor running, right? And they started to show us that with the new scan, the EEG device, is a Bluetooth wireless headpiece of equipment that was recently, in the last 3 to 5 years, maybe 7 years, has come to be. and it actually records all the 19 areas of the brain. 4 minutes, and in 4 minutes you can check out your brain on all these on this level, and through their software, their algorithms, and their software, their algorithm, it comes up with protocols to treat the brain communication system. So I'm thinking, okay, great. And we'll have a couple of slides, maybe next segment. But the beauty of this is it's a great complement and maybe a foundational, like when I was in life insurance, it was a great foundation of a financial plan that made it all work no matter what. So that's one of the things that this technology does is it may not get all my brain back to where the optimal range is on the speed of its the hertz, that 10.2 or the 8 to 12. And I'm seeing incredible progress over the last year. My friends see it, even Wes Chandler and those guys. They say there's a twinkle in my eye where there once wasn't.
Wow.
Well,
hold that thought. We got to take a station break.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Sorry about that, Paula.
No.
But we got to take a station break, but we're going to come back and we're going to pick it up because we still got a lot more that we want to hear from Paula and Craig. So if you want to be part of the conversation, pick up the phone. Dial 1-888-344-1170 again. That's 1-888-344-1170. KCBQ, AM 1170 Answer, FM 96.1, The Answer, San Diego. All you do is call and share your thoughts. We'll see you shortly after the break.
There's more stories of greatness to help you overcome adversity coming up on It's Your Life with James Cooley.
A black man's point of view is the new.
It's the James Cooley Show. It's your life. Dr. James J.C. Cooley. Yeah. Come on. Let's go. It's the James Cooley Show. It's your life. Dr. James J.C. Cooley. All right.
For those looking to improve their lives, there's nobody better to turn to than Paula Shaw. Paula helps people regain successful lives by identifying and eliminating self-sabotaging behavior using a multitude of mind-body techniques to identify and resolve their core issues. Working with a wide variety of healing modalities, she provides her clients with the most effective process for their specific needs. To book a session with Paula, call 858-480-9234. That's 858-480-9234.
Heaven abounds in you, enlightens, uplifts, inspires, and invites you to live a life that's engaged, joyous, and limitless, the sweet spot of life. Take this journey in oneness. We are and have all that God, the infinite creative source of the universe, is. You are infinite potentiality, and the kingdom of heaven is within you. Heaven abounds in you.
The James Cooley Show. It's your life. That's right.
The True Life Coming of Age Story by James J.C. Cooley. Using humor, wit, and engaging storytelling, James paints a picture about his arrival in a rural Deep South town and realization that life would never be the same. Cooley lays out his struggle to adjust from city life to country life and back again, sharing his hard-earned lessons to educate, encourage, and enlighten our next generation of leaders and heroes. Get your copy of Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet by James J.C. Cooley, available on Amazon and everywhere books are sold.
Craving a slice of Chicago right here in Temecula wine country? Then dive into legendary Chicago deep dish style pizza at Rosati's Pizza Pub. Piled high with gooey cheese, rich tomato sauce, and your favorite toppings, Rosati's delivers the taste of the Windy City right to your table or front door. Enjoy the cozy pub atmosphere and an impressive selection of Temecula wines. Come on down to Rosati's Pizza Pub for your slice of Chicago right here on Rancho California Road, or order online at myrosatis.com. Rosati's, where Chicago deep dish pizza meets Temecula charm.
The James Cooley Show.
Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's the life, and in case you're just tuning in, Paula Shaw is the host today. Bridges Beyond Grief, and what we're talking about with this absolutely fantastic guest she has, we're talking about reset your mindset. And as we talked about that and continue to talk about that, sometimes you have to reset your mindset in order for you to move forward and get ahead. And so I want to get back off into that one. I think Michelle got a question, and then we're going to turn it back over to Paul.
Oh, I'm gonna let Paula ask that question first. I think Craig was wrapping up before we went to break, so I'm gonna let him finish with Paula.
I think it would be really helpful if we can to show perhaps that first brain scan that you had, Craig. You were talking about the EEG, and then what you see the brain waves looking like. Yes, this slide right here. Craig, can you talk to them a little bit about that and help them, understand what it all means?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my brain. This is it. Those are 3 individual scans from an electroencephalogram head device, which has 19 microphones that is placed on your head, records for 4 minutes the neural activity, the electromagnetic impulses, and the speed of them. Then it translates it into a graphic. So a year ago, October 18th, you'll look at the far left graph, and you'll see that there's a lot of disbursement, if you will, volume to the far left. The far left is where 0 is, as in hertz, slow brain waves. The middle would be your optimal, and every human being's optimal operating speed is 10.2 or so, but between 9 and 12. And then the far right's hyper. It's up to 20 and beyond, where you're hypervigilant, anxiety, stress. So when I came in and they looked it up and they said, well, look, this is not what it's supposed to look like. You're supposed to have what would be a peak in the middle and maybe some low-lying flatlands, if you will, on either side. And you can tell that I don't have any of that then.
And Craig, let me just clarify for the audience. You're talking about the scan on the left, the column that we're seeing on the left. Okay.
Yeah, the one that says October 18th, all right, and it's the far left, as Lizzie says, I see it. And what you're seeing are the 19 areas of your brain. So if you're struggling with anything, depression, anxiety, stress, you've got PTSD, you've had some concussions over the years, or you work so hard that you need a fresher and a tune-up. You come in and get a scan, you can see everybody's you may not have the beautiful concussed head that I have, but here's what you do. If you get this can give you a baseline foundation of like you do with your motor and your engine. I do a diagnostic. Oh, look, I'm just operating a little slow. Then you go, and this is then put into another algorithm, and it spits out a protocol, which is now the personalized repetitive transcranial magnetic stimulation is the new innovative version, which Dr. Kevin T. Murphy created, is much safer, because before it was one shot, hot and high speed. People were, it was uncomfortable. Some people were even having seizures. Ours is at such a low amplitude that the risk is so small. Obviously nothing's perfect, but it's very small and very comfortable. It takes about 30 minutes to get a full treatment, which is about 5 individual protocols. And over time, you can see the transition and the transformation of your own physical brain, because I get the mental health part. Look, I'm as mental as they get. Paula will tell you, we've known each other years. And I speak to that in a strength now, and I own it, which is great, because now I have the power over it. But before I can get to my mental health, I got to make sure that my physical body and the brain as an organ a lot of people forget about that. And you don't have to play football for this to be a benefit to you in your life. And maybe it might enhance it for some clarity, or maybe your moods. The number one thing I experienced at week 5, sleep. And everybody knows what a good night's sleep is. And if you're like this, you're not getting it. And if you're over on the right, the anxiety side, you're definitely not getting it. And I had my bouts with that with my injuries. So quickly going to the middle one, that's 4 months into it. you can see the transformation. It's starting to migrate to the middle. That's a good sign. My brain's accepting the signals, which really is, it's like a conductor talking to a band that's not marching in place and playing the same tune, and getting them all to come together to that middle of the field and having that peak. So that's what's happening. And then you go to a couple of weeks back, you look at the difference in the middle of the October 15th on the far right, and how there's peaks. Now I've got another one that if we get to it, we call it the unicorn, as I was told. A 45-year-old woman teaching meditation for 25 years had a clean and nothing but peaks in the middle. Now that's a professional meditator, 25 years. So give yourself a break. This for me is wonderful, and it's allowed me to sleep for the first time in 20 years. And we all know when you have a good night's sleep, you can think better. The brain fog's gone. Your mood's better. You're not short with your kids, your wife. And you don't talk as long as I do on this show. And you let Paula speak.
Perfect timing. So I just want to clarify for our viewers and listeners, the scan, the column, if you will, and the way it looks on this slide, on the left was sort of Craig before. And you can see, so when the brainwave can either be too active or underactive. When it's appropriate, when the balance is there, we see those peaks in the middle, which we are seeing in your scan, Craig, on the far right here. The column on the far right is what we're referring to. So you see how these treatments, and by the way, I had the privilege of going and getting to experience this whole thing. I had the EEGs, I had a treatment, and it's just like a little ticking kind of thing that you hear. There's no pain to it at all. I think traditional TMS has, as you mentioned, Craig, made people uncomfortable. It's absolutely painless. And what it does is it gives more energy to the waves that are slow and less energy to the ones that are too active. So it's kind of normalizing your brain waves. And in your case, Craig, it took you from, as you quoted to me, drinking and eating yourself to death to a very high functioning person now who has hope, who has life, who is excited, who has love in his life and relationships that you cherish. That's a huge, huge transformation.
Yes.
Wow. We're down to the end of the show. And this is such a wonderful discussion, conversation. Probably had to do this again, Paula.
Yeah.
And I tell you, I want to thank Craig for taking the time to come on the show and share his experiences and also bring enlightenment to all of us and give us a better understanding. Always want to thank Paula Shaw. That's my girl right there. She is absolutely wonderful. Do a bunch of great things. I'd like to thank Michelle Cooley for putting together another absolutely fantastic show. She always do that. I got to thank my studios, KCBQ AM 1170 Answer, FM 96.1. I call him Toddy, my producer there, for always being there. But most importantly, I'd like to thank our viewers and our listeners for tuning into the James Cooley Show. It's your life Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and also at 9 o'clock on Saturday p.m. and 9 o'clock on Sunday, the best of the James Cooley Show. Always dream big, think big, and be big. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. It's your life, and we'll see you then. Okay, Todd, I don't hear the music.